On Valoric Station, choice was everything. Species chose alliances, families chose heirs, and individuals, especially those of high genetic or social value, were chosen again and again. To be unchosen was not simply loneliness. It was a quiet verdict, a mark that followed you through corridors and conversations alike. Her name was Sarelka. I noticed her the first day I arrived on the station as Earth's cultural liaison. Humans were still considered an anomaly, physically unimpressive, emotionally confusing, and politically unpredictable. We were tolerated because we were useful. Still, eyes followed me everywhere, measuring, judging. Sarelka stood apart from those eyes. She was Talari, a species prized for elegance and neural resonance. Talari women were usually surrounded by suitors, by mentors, by opportunity. Sarelka stood alone near the observation dome, hands folded behind her back, watching the stars as if they were a language she had not yet learned to speak.
I didn't know her story then.
I only noticed that no one stood beside her. Over the following weeks, I learned the station was efficient at sharing information if you listened carefully enough. Sarelka had failed her resonance trials, not catastrophically, but just enough. Talari society believed harmony was destiny, and destiny was measured. Her emotional frequencies were irregular. Not dangerous. Not defective. Just inconvenient. Suitors passed her over for safer matches. Guilds chose others with cleaner profiles. Even her own family, polite and distant, treated her like a delicate inconvenience. She was chosen by none. I encountered her again during a cross-species symposium. I was fumbling through a presentation on human adaptability when a data panel froze. Laughter rippled through the hall, soft, superior laughter. Sarelka stepped forward without hesitation. "May I?" she asked, voice calm. She bypassed the panel manually, rerouting the interface with elegant efficiency. The screen came alive. The laughter died. Our eyes met briefly. Hers were luminous, uncertain, like someone unaccustomed to being thanked.
"Thank you," I said.
She nodded and returned to her seat alone. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. We began speaking afterward, small conversations at first. She asked about Earth's oceans, asked about Talari star songs. She listened with an intensity one wasn't used to, as if every word mattered. Over time, I realized something unsettling. Sarelka wasn't irregular. She was deep. Talari society prized resonance that blended easily, harmonizing without friction. Sarelka's mind didn't blend. It explored. She felt too much, thought too far ahead. Where others aligned, she questioned. Where others settled, she waited. To the Talari, that made her undesirable. To a human, it felt familiar. Weeks turned into months. Rumors began circulating, quiet ones at first. Why was the human always seen with her? Why would someone with so many options waste time on an unchosen Talari? Then came the selection conclave. Once every cycle, unbonded individuals could accept or decline offers publicly. For most, it was ceremony, confirming what everyone already knew. For Sarelka, it was a formality of rejection. No one had submitted an offer for her. She was required to stand regardless. I hadn't planned to attend, but something pulled me there. The chamber was vast, filled with layered seating and soft bioluminescent light. Names were called. Bonds declared. Applause followed. Then her name. Sarelka of the Talari. She stepped forward alone. The silence was heavier than any sound. Offer submitted. The conclave intoned. 0. A murmur rippled through the chamber.
Pity.
Validation. Closure. Sarelka lowered her head. She had expected this. I could see it in the stillness of her shoulders. Protocol allowed the session to move on. Instead, I stood. Gasps echoed as a human rose from a diplomatic tier reserved for observation only. "What are you doing?" my aide hissed. I didn't answer. "I submit an offer," I said clearly. The chamber froze. The conclave hesitated. "State your designation." Elias Morgan. Human. Terran Union. There was confusion. Protocols consulted. Laws scanned. Humans rarely participated in cross-species bonding. We were considered emotionally unpredictable. Sarah Ka looked up slowly, eyes wide. "You don't have to," she whispered, barely audible. I stepped beside her. "I know," I said. "I want to." The conclave processed for several long seconds. "Sarah Ka of the Talari," it asked, "do you accept this offer?" She stared at me as if afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too quickly. "Yes," she said. Her voice shook. "I accept." The chamber erupted, not in applause, but in chaos. Objections were raised. Concerns voiced. A human choosing an unchosen Talari challenged unspoken hierarchies. If we saw value where others did not, what did that say about their systems? Our bond was approved provisionally, under observation. That was when the real test began. Sarah Ka struggled at first. Years of being overlooked had carved doubt into her bones. She expected abandonment at every misstep. I did what humans do best. I stayed. When she questioned her worth, I listened. When she feared her differences, I reminded her those differences were why I chose her. When the station watched us with suspicion, we lived openly anyway. And something changed. Other species began asking questions. Talari scholars revisited their resonance models. Unchosen individuals across species began stepping forward, no longer hiding. Sarah Ka flourished. Not because I saved her, but because someone finally saw her and didn't look away. Years later, during a council address, a Talari elder approached me. "You disrupted centuries of tradition," she said. I smiled. "Humans do that." She looked toward Sarah Ka, standing confident and radiant at my side. "She was chosen by none," the elder said softly. "Not true," I replied. "She was chosen by me." And in that choice, the galaxy learned something important. Worth is not measured by how many choose you. Sometimes, it's revealed by the one who does. The Provisional Bond Review convened in the same chamber where Sarah Ka had once stood alone. This time, the seats were filled not with quiet judgment, but anticipation. Across the station, and beyond it, our bond had become a reference point. Data showed improved cooperation among mixed-species crews. New cultural exchange programs had formed. Even the Talari had amended their resonance criteria, allowing for variance instead of perfection. The conclave spoke at last. "The bond between Elias Morgan and Sarah Ka of the Talari is hereby recognized as permanent, unrestricted, and exemplary." Applause followed. Real applause this time. Sarah Ka turned to me, her eyes shining, not with disbelief anymore, but certainty. She no longer stood as someone waiting to be chosen. She stood as someone who knew her value. Later, as we watched the stars from the same observation dome where I had first seen her alone, she rested her head against my shoulder. "I used to think being unchosen meant I was incomplete," she said softly. I took her hand. "No," I replied. "It just meant the wrong people were looking." She smiled then, not tentative, not surprised, but whole. And in a galaxy obsessed with selection and status, that simple human choice echoed louder than any tradition ever had.